Today we're going to talk about something that actually works and a model that is actually something to take a look at and go, okay, how can we expand these kinds of ideas? So before we get going any further, we'll associate the human being with a voice, and either one of you, I guess Eva, if you want to start, introduce yourself and give us some background.
Sure. Thanks. My name is Eva Erlich. I am with a real estate development firm called Trinity Financial. We do work in the New England area and New York area focused on public housing, affordable housing, mixed income housing, and commercial real estate.
And Secretary.
Hi, I'm Deborah Goddard, Secretary of Housing for the state of Rhode Island. Happy to joining the conversation.
All right, so there's so many different ways to view the lens of housing right now, and we try to do it in different ways beyond even what is normally discussed. You can talk about modular. You can talk about, rezoning. There's a million different ways to look at things. And we don't spend enough time looking at some of the things that are already started and that are already initiated and already work. And I got a press release that caught my attention that pertained to Newport Heights. And I'll read from that press release here. Just, I think it's the best description for anybody who's not familiar. Originally redeveloped through the federal Hope Six program, Newport Heights transformed the former Tonomy Hill Public Housing development into a nationally recognized mixed income community that improved neighborhood safety, expanded housing opportunities, and helped reconnect residents to the broader Newport community. Today, Newport Heights includes 299 apartments and remains one of Rhode Island's most significant affordable housing redevelopment success stories. There was an event over the last weekend that celebrated more than 150 residents gathered for what was described as a summer kickoff community event at Newport Heights. That's what brought this to our attention. So, Secretary, what is it that makes Newport Heights a success in the affordable housing conversation?
So let me go back a little bit. I can be a policy nerd, Bill.
Please.
We say it's a Hope Six development. That was a major effort on behalf of HUD's part to preserve and revitalize public housing and move it to a platform where it could access private capital dollars. Uh, Public housing developments are really held captive. They can't lend or borrow against their property. And we know the federal government has backed away from funding what's necessary to keep these units up. So the Hope Six program, and now what we call RAD, helps to move those developments to a financing platform where they can access debt, which Newport Heights did. And as with any other housing, it can now refinance over time when it needs to. Again, something that was available to is not available to public housing under the standard uh, funding platform. So, and Newport Heights was fairly early on nationally. And so it's really an example of the uh, overwhelming transformation you can make when you have really good design, really good construction, and then how you can expand its longevity by accessing refinancing options. So,
Right. And so, Eva, from Trinity's standpoint, the financial vehicle here is sort of the X factor that makes that design, that also opportunity that was allowed by combination of factors, including just the marketplace itself presenting an opportunity for this. But from Trinity's standpoint, how does this work? What's the differentiation on a project like Newport Heights?
So I think the opportunity when it was originally redeveloped into Newport Heights, 20 plus years ago, the opportunity to sort of revision what it could be and create a mixed income community and look at the street network and look at, the built environment has really allowed it to become a new community and a new place. And, we have residents who lived there when it was Tonomy Hill, who came back after it was redeveloped, who are still there today. And it really is, as Deborah said, I mean, just a great example of sort of what that program enabled to allow for kind of a revisioning of what public housing used to be and create a new vision that is more connected and more integrated and mixed income, just to allow kind of a socioeconomic diversity aspect as well.
So this example raises the question, Secretary, of balancing reinvestment in existing infrastructure, maybe versus or in tandem with new development, but when development of new projects, or honestly physical geography and municipalities like Johnston getting in the way, is the which frankly, that in and of itself, you wonder if a project like a redevelopment project in some of these municipalities that have sort of said, well, we're good on affordable housing, you wonder if this
Yeah.
strategy even works there. But the broader point is, how do you balance this as Secretary now, looking at redevelopment opportunities against new development opportunities?
I like the way you offered the phrase "in tandem." I always say, preservation is the twin of production, because we can't step back by losing housing as we're trying to move forward. And preservation has suffered in comparison in terms of, I think, available funding. And so, under the financing round last fall, we created a set aside out of the bond funds, the 2024 bond funds, for preservation. It wasn't a huge pot, but we did explicitly promote preservation. And through their own funds, Rhode Island Housing matched it. And so the preservation was able to score well enough to get funding. It does have a tough time competing on its own against production because of the um, what has been the past priority for production. Still, obviously, hugely important, but we can't take a step back and lose what we've got.
Mm. And from the standpoint of putting new units online versus keeping existing units in play,
Mhm.
so to speak, as some of the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, even approaching the end of the aughts developments start to deteriorate. This is a question for both of you. How do each of you view that opportunity or problem to solve, of facing buildings that... As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org. Bartholomew Town is proud to partner with Waterfire. Visit waterfire.org. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communications, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience message and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. And by the way, join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. Bartholomew Town, proud to partner with the University of Rhode Island Online. Are you ready to take the next step in your career? At URI Online, they offer business and leadership-focused programs designed to fit your life. Whether your goal is to advance your career in fields like public administration, supply chain management, or training and development, their online programs provide the flexibility you need with a high-quality education you deserve. You're going to learn from experienced faculty and collaborate with a network of professionals, all from the comfort of your home or wherever life takes you. Visit uri.edu/online to explore programs and start building your future today. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Bartholomew Town is proud to partner with Newport Film. Visit newportfilm.com. Follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew. We're going to require potentially significant, or properties are going to require potentially significant renovation when assessing, your best options to get more housing for more people. I guess we'll start with Secretary Goddard on that.
Sure, I'll take from the big picture. Generally, if the owner is responsible, such as Trinity, we are seeing a request for refi before we get to the point where we've got significant systems failure, so on and so forth. So I think the cost here, Eva can correct me. I think construction's about 120, 130 a unit. Our subsidy is 40K a unit. So that's a very um, inexpensive and very worthy investment. We have some that are we actually have some that cost a little bit more because they hadn't been able to refi over time. The other thing we get here is I think Newport Heights was their original affordability restrictions were going to expire in about 7 years. Now we've got
Hmm.
30 years on that. So that's really invaluable when we're have such an uphill battle in housing.
Right. A similar for question in Lane, Eva.
Yeah, sure. So, I think for us, we are really lucky to have partners in the Housing Authority for the City of Newport and great long-term partners with Rhode Island Housing and the state on this property. And we started looking at what was needed at Newport Heights several years ago and began those discussions, as the secretary mentioned, before any sort of catastrophe or major issue has arisen, which is we all hope for, right? And that kind of advanced planning has allowed us to look at what our options were and what paths we could pursue for bringing resources to the table, public and private, and refinancing. Um, to allow us to create a strategy that will put this property sort of in a position to continue serving high quality housing and affordable and mixed income housing, for future generations. So
Mm.
just starting those conversations early with the partners and getting on the same page of the strategy.
Secretary, are these conversations happening throughout the state in different municipalities in terms of preservation or renovation? How frequent is this on your agenda in terms of assessing new projects? And then we'll ask the same question to some of the other projects you may be working on, Eva.
So let me make sure I have the question. How often are we discussing preservation as we go across the state?
Exactly, in tandem with, because
Yeah,
you get the press releases that I get the press releases that say there's a ribbon cutting here, or there's this event here, or whatever, but the governor's schedule includes such and such housing event. It's not going to say there was a discussion on X preservation project in West
yeah,
Warwick. So
yeah.
I'm curious how much this is a part of the strategy you work on in real time.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, in a variety of ways, Bill. So, with particular reference to public housing, for instance, we did outreach to the trade organization, the Public Housing Authority group of Rhode Island, to talk about the funding we have available. We can't step in and fill the breach that the federal government has left, but we can talk about what we do have. So we've been active with FARI. I have a public housing background, so it's near and dear to my heart. Um, and then developers come into us as well with other thoughts and ideas. And as Eva said early on, we are willing to have conversations about what looks okay, what's the cost, what do we really think we can squeeze in. Um, but I always use the ribbon cuttings on the preservations as to make this point, Bill, that we
Hmm.
have to do both. We have to do both.
Yeah. Eva, any projects you're currently engaged in outside of Newport Heights?
Yeah, and so we've been doing this. Trinity's been doing this for nearly 40 years. So we have a whole portfolio of these sort of early Hope Six deals, early low-income housing tax credit deals that are reaching this point or have reached this point. And so this is something that we're looking at across our portfolio. And on public housing projects such as the Newport Heights one, HUD has made some tools available, including RAD, which is a great tool to be able to um, approach kind of modernization of these assets and reinvestment. But yes, we are looking at this across our portfolio, and we are assessing what the needs are at properties as kind of on an individual basis.
Lastly, here, look, it's anecdotal, but there's a sentiment in Rhode Island that it is becoming more and more or less and less of a moment of optimism. I think that I can speak for a lot of people that just feel kind of caught between generations or caught between ebbs and flows. And so this conversation of housing, it is, we always have to talk about, it's workforce housing, it's a capital A affordable housing, it's lower case A affordable housing, it's luxury housing, it's senior housing. All of this is if the system is working in tandem, then people will downsize their houses and those houses will become available to young families, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a full spectrum conversation. This is just one part of it. But in terms of getting the wheels turning, Secretary, if we did more preservation, would that get the wheels turning on the entire machine here that might make the marketplace, quite frankly, feel more accessible to more people?
We have a supply problem, bottom line. So while I absolutely can step back and make that supply problem worse, we absolutely have to produce net new housing, or the preservation won't provide the value that it can. Um, and I will say that, and to your point, we need it across the spectrum. I try not to say affordable housing. I say affordable too, to help people understand, humanize it, make sure they understand it's their neighbor, it's their child, it's their friend, it's their friend's friend. Um, but we do intend to continue a preservation set aside to give it a fair footing, but we will not take our foot off the gas pedal in terms of production. We can't. We have a basic supply and demand-ish problem here.
Yeah. I mean, that is the bottom line. It is as unfortunate. Anybody who's out trying to buy a home in the last, I don't know, several years, including now in this moment where it's shifted a little bit, never mind rental. It's a wild time. So the more we can produce in all different spaces, the more we can preserve, the better we are. Thank you both for your work. Newport Heights, a success. It's great to talk about something good instead of moaning and groaning about, whatever doom and gloom. This worked. It worked. It's good. This is part of the solution. And thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.